My trust fund or your love? Billionaire's daughter chose poverty with black factory worker over inheritance. 24-year-old Kendra Ashford had never questioned where money came from, because it had always just been there. She stood in her Manhattan penthouse overlooking Central Park, designer coffee in hand, scrolling through Instagram's perfectly curated luxury. Her trust fund generated 6 figures monthly without her lifting a finger. Her father, Douglas Ashford, had built Ashford Global from regional real estate into an international investment empire. The family name opened doors. Old money, political influence, wealth with expectations Kendra had never questioned. Kendra, darling, ready? Her mother, Victoria Ashford, appeared wearing Chanel and impatience. Foundation board meeting starts in 30 minutes. Kendra glanced at her Cartier watch. The Ashford Family Foundation, her father's tax shelter disguised as philanthropy. As heir apparent, she'd sit through 2 hours of wealthy people deciding which poor students deserved $20,000, while the endowment sat at $200 million. Do I have to? Blake and I were meeting his parents. Blake can wait. Foundation duties first. Victoria's tone was final. Your father's announcing your position as Youth Outreach Director. Perfect for her profile. Everything in Kendra's life was about profiles. Social, family, the carefully constructed image of a young philanthropist who cared about causes she'd never experienced. 100,000 Instagram followers watched her attend galas in borrowed designer gowns, none knowing she couldn't name a single scholarship recipient. The foundation meeting was tedious. 12 board members, all white, wealthy, over 50, debated whether inner-city students really needed full scholarships or if partial funding would motivate them more. Our program has supported over 500 students, Douglas announced proudly. Many have successful careers, paying forward the generosity shown them. Kendra wanted to ask how many returned to their communities versus becoming the same people who sat on boards like this. But she didn't. Questioning wasn't her role. After the meeting, Victoria pulled her aside. Junior League Gala next month. I've arranged your keynote on youth empowerment. Sophie drafted remarks. Memorize them. What if I don't want to speak about empowerment when I've never been disempowered? Victoria's smile tightened. That's exactly why you should. People trust voices like yours. Use your privilege for good. Use your privilege for good. The family motto, conveniently ignoring their privilege, came from exploiting communities they now claimed to help. That evening, Kendra stood on her balcony watching city lights, feeling hollow despite having everything. Tomorrow she'd wear another designer outfit, attend another fundraiser, smile for photos. She'd play conscientious heiress while never examining what that wealth cost. Somewhere below, millions worked multiple jobs, struggling to survive. And Kendra drank wine costing more than their weekly groceries, convinced she was one of the good rich people because she occasionally wrote charity checks. The delusion was comfortable, and Kendra had never been asked to be uncomfortable. CTA. Hello, the Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment. And it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world, so don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. Sunday brunch at her parents' Upper East Side townhouse reinforced everything Kendra believed about merit and success. Her father sat at the head of the table reading the Financial Times, while Victoria discussed the upcoming season's social calendar. The Hendersons are hosting their annual summer gala in the Hamptons, Victoria said, cutting her poached egg with precision. Blake's mother specifically asked if you'd co-chair the silent auction. Kendra's younger brother, Austin, looked up from his phone. He was 21, fresh out of Yale, already working at their father's firm despite zero qualifications beyond his last name. Are we really doing another charity thing? We just did the foundation meeting. Charity is how we maintain influence, Douglas said without looking up. People respect families who give back. Give back. As if their wealth hadn't come from buying distressed properties during the 2008 crash, evicting families, and flipping buildings for profit. As if the foundation's scholarships weren't a fraction of what they'd made from gentrifying neighborhoods. Kendra, Blake mentioned you seemed distracted lately, Victoria continued. Is everything all right? You're not having doubts about him, are you? Blake's fine. Everything's fine. Good, because the Hendersons are wonderful people. A merger between our families would be beneficial for everyone. Victoria said, merger, the way most people said, marriage, which was exactly how she saw it. Kendra's phone buzzed. Her best friend, Madison. Brunch at the club. Need to vent about wedding planning. Madison was marrying another trust fund heir in a wedding that would cost more than most people's houses. Kendra had been asked to be maid of honor, which meant managing a bachelorette party in Napa, and wearing a dress that cost $4,000. I have plans with Madison, Kendra said, standing. Before you go, Douglas folded his newspaper. I need you at the Riverside development site Tuesday. We're breaking ground on luxury condos. Good photo op for the foundation. Urban renewal, creating jobs. That narrative. Riverside. Kendra knew that neighborhood. Low income, primarily Black and Latino families. Small businesses that had been there for generations. Ashford Global had bought the land through shell companies, and those families were being displaced by condos starting at $2 million. That's the neighborhood with the factory, right? The one making those eviction protests? That's handled. We offered relocation assistance. More than generous. Douglas's tone suggested the conversation was over. Later, at the country club, Madison complained about flower arrangements while Kendra picked at her salad. Through the window, she could see the golf course. Acres of maintained green space in a city where people lived in crowded apartments. Are you even listening? Madison asked. Sorry, distracted. Is it Blake? Because if you're having cold feet, that's normal. Every bride gets nervous. I'm not a bride yet. But you will be. Everyone knows it. You're perfect together. Same background, same values, same everything. Same everything. That was the problem. Kendra was surrounded by people who thought and looked and lived exactly like her, and none of them questioned whether they deserved any of it. Tuesday morning, Kendra arrived at the Riverside development site in a town car, accompanied by the foundation's PR team. A small group of protesters stood behind police barricades holding signs, "Housing is a human right," and "Stop displacing our community." Ignore them, Douglas said as they exited the car. They don't understand economics. We're improving the neighborhood. Improving. Kendra looked at the old factory building adjacent to the site. Riverside Manufacturing, family-owned for 60 years, employing 200 local workers. Ashford Global had bought it too, planning demolition once the current lease expired. The groundbreaking ceremony was staged for maximum media impact. Douglas gave a speech about economic development and job creation. Kendra smiled for cameras, holding a gold-plated shovel, performing her role. A voice called out from the protesters. How many jobs pay living wages? How many local workers? Security moved toward the voice, but Kendra saw him, mid-20s, Black, wearing a Riverside Manufacturing work shirt and union badge. His name tag read, Isaiah. That's enough, Douglas said firmly. The ceremony continued. Afterward, Kendra's curiosity got the better of her. While her father spoke with contractors, she walked toward the factory. The building was old but well-maintained, with sounds of machinery and activity inside. She peered through a window and saw the floor, dozens of workers operating equipment, moving with practiced efficiency. Isaiah was among them, training a younger worker, patient and thorough. Can I help you? A security guard appeared. I'm Kendra Ashford. My father's company owns this property. Ah, well, the factory's still operational. Lease doesn't end for 6 months. What happens to the workers then? The guard shrugged. Not my problem, ma'am. Not his problem. Not anyone's problem except the 200 people losing their jobs. That evening, Blake took her to dinner at Per Se, where the tasting menu cost $600 per person. He talked about his new position at his father's hedge fund, the apartment they'd eventually buy, their future that was already mapped and decided. We should start looking at places in Tribeca, Blake said. 2-bedroom minimum. We'll need space for a home office. What if I don't want to live in Tribeca? Blake laughed. Where else would we live? Brooklyn? He said it like a joke. Why not? Park Slope is nice. Park Slope is for people who can't afford Manhattan. Blake refilled her wine. Come on, Ken. We're not those people. Those people. The ones who worked real jobs, worried about rent, lived in neighborhoods Blake wouldn't visit. The ones like Isaiah, who'd lose his job so people like them could have luxury condos. Do you ever think about where our money comes from? Kendra asked. What do you mean? Like, actually think about it. The buildings my father buys, the families displaced, the workers affected. Blake's expression shifted to concern. Are you feeling okay? This doesn't sound like you. Maybe it should sound like me. Kendra, your father creates value. That's how capitalism works. Not everyone can win, but the market rewards efficiency. He reached for her hand. You're overthinking this. You have a good heart. That's why you do foundation work. But you can't save everyone. Can't save everyone. But could she stop actively harming them? Could she acknowledge that her luxury came at someone else's cost? The questions followed her home, where her penthouse suddenly felt obscenely large for one person. She stood at the window, looking toward Riverside, wondering about the man in the factory who'd spoken up, wondering what it took to risk your job by challenging people in power, wondering if she'd ever had that kind of courage. Kendra did something impulsive Thursday afternoon. She went back to Riverside alone. No driver, no PR team, wearing jeans and a plain jacket instead of designer labels. She wanted to see the neighborhood her father was erasing. Riverside was nothing like the blighted area described in development proposals. Small businesses lined the streets. Bodegas, family restaurants, a bookstore, a community center. People knew each other, called out greetings, lived actual interconnected lives. She found herself outside Riverside manufacturing. A shift was changing, workers streaming out. Isaiah emerged, laughing with co-workers still in his work clothes. Their eyes met. Recognition flickered across his face. Surprise, then something harder. Kendra approached before she could talk herself out of it. Hi, I'm Kendra. We didn't officially meet at the groundbreaking. I know who you are. You're Douglas Ashford's daughter. Isaiah's voice was measured, careful. What are you doing here? I wanted to see the neighborhood. Actually see it, not just what my father's reports say. And what do those reports say? That it's underutilized. That development will improve quality of life. Improve for who? Isaiah crossed his arms. Because the people living here seem to like their quality of life fine. It's the people moving in who need improvement. The words stung because they were true. You're right. I'm sorry. For what? Your father's business practices? Your family's wealth? Sorry doesn't mean much without action, Ms. Ashford. Just Kendra, please. All right, just Kendra. Why are you really here? Easing your conscience? Checking that the poor people are real? I don't know why I'm here. The honesty surprised her. I watched you at the groundbreaking. You risked your job to speak up. Not much risk when I'm losing it anyway in 6 months. Your father's demolishing this building, remember? What will you do? Isaiah laughed bitterly. Find another job, I guess. If one exists that pays enough to keep me in New York, maybe I'll relocate, like your father's generous assistant suggests. Leave the neighborhood I've lived in my whole life because millionaires need more waterfront condos. I didn't know or didn't care to know. There's a difference. Isaiah started walking. Look, I'm sure you're nice for a billionaire's daughter, but this isn't a field trip. These are people's lives. My coworkers have families, mortgages, kids in local schools. We can't just relocate like moving chess pieces. Kendra fell into step beside him. Teach me. Teach you what? What it's like. Your life, this neighborhood? What my family's development actually costs. Isaiah stopped walking, studied her face. Why would I do that? So you can feel better about being rich? So you can tell your friends you understand the struggle? Maybe. I don't know. Kendra felt tears threatening. I just know that everything in my life is a lie. I've been told I'm a good person because I go to galas and smile for cameras, but I've never actually helped anyone, never questioned where my money comes from, and I can't keep living like that. Something in Isaiah's expression shifted. Not softness, but reassessment. You know, if you actually learn what your father's business does to communities, you can't unknow it. It'll change you. Maybe I need to change. Isaiah was quiet for a long moment. There's a community meeting tomorrow night. Residents organizing against the development. If you actually want to understand, come to that. See the faces of people losing their homes. I'll be there. We'll see. Isaiah turned to leave, then paused. And Kendra, if you're doing this for Instagram clout or to feel like a savior, don't bother. We don't need charity. We need justice. After he left, Kendra stood on the street, shaking slightly. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Direct, challenging, refusing to be impressed by her name or wealth. Everyone in her life either deferred to her family or shared her privilege. Isaiah saw through all of it, and instead of being offended, Kendra felt something like relief. Finally, someone telling her the truth. She had no idea what she'd started. But walking back to her car, Kendra felt more awake than she had in years. Kendra spent Friday researching her father's company, really looking at the documents she'd ignored for years. The shell companies buying properties, the systematic targeting of working-class neighborhoods, the pattern of displacement followed by luxury development. Riverside was just the latest. Before that, Ashford Global had gentrified 3 other neighborhoods, always with the same narrative about improvement and economic development, always resulting in families pushed out, communities destroyed, luxury condos nobody local could afford. Her phone rang. Victoria. "Darling, where were you yesterday? Blake said you canceled dinner plans." "I had something to do." "Well, reschedule with him soon. His mother's asking about engagement timelines." Victoria's tone suggested this was exciting news. "We're thinking a spring wedding would be lovely. Perhaps the plaza?" "Mom, I'm not even engaged." "But you will be. It's the natural progression." As if life followed a script, and questioning that script was unthinkable. After hanging up, Kendra looked at her calendar. Foundation events, society galas, meetings about meetings. None of it felt important anymore. That evening, she went to the community meeting Isaiah mentioned. It was held in a church basement, folding chairs arranged in rows, residents packed in. The contrast to her usual meetings was stark. No catered food, no designer clothes, just people fighting for their homes. Isaiah stood near the front, talking with organizers. He saw her, raised an eyebrow, but didn't approach. A woman took the microphone. "Thank you all for coming. We're here to discuss Ashford Global's development and our options for resistance." For the next hour, Kendra listened to stories. A grandmother who'd lived in her rent-controlled apartment for 40 years, now facing eviction. A small business owner who couldn't afford the new commercial rents. Riverside manufacturing workers who'd lose their jobs, their benefits, their stability. One woman spoke through tears. "My son goes to school 3 blocks away. All his friends are here. Where are we supposed to go? How do I explain that we have to leave because someone richer wants our home?" Kendra felt shame burn through her. These weren't abstract concepts or reports. These were real people, real lives being destroyed so her father could increase his portfolio. After the meeting, Isaiah approached. "You came. I said I would. Most people say a lot of things." He gestured to the emptying room. "Well, what did you think?" "I think my father is destroying lives, and I've been complicit by not caring." Kendra's voice shook. "I think everything I believe about my family being good people is a lie. That's a start. What can I do? I can't stop the development. My father won't listen to me. Maybe you can't stop this one, but you have access, platform, resources. You could expose how these developments really work. You could use your privilege to amplify voices like theirs instead of drowning them out. My family would never forgive me." Then you have to decide what matters more, their approval or doing what's right. Isaiah's eyes held hers. "That's the choice people like me make every day. We risk jobs, housing, stability to fight for justice. You'd just be risking comfort. Just comfort." But that comfort was everything Kendra knew. Walking to her car, she passed a park where kids played on old equipment. In 6 months, this would be gone, replaced by a dog run for condo owners and their designer pets. Kendra sat in her car, hands on the steering wheel, trying to breathe. Everything felt too big, too complicated. She couldn't fix systemic inequality, couldn't undo decades of her family's exploitation. But maybe she could stop participating in it. Maybe that was enough to start. CTA. "Hello, the Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment. And it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world, so don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. Kendra returned to Riverside Manufacturing the following Monday, this time asking to tour the facility. The manager, surprised but accommodating, showed her around. Isaiah was working a press machine, focused and skilled. "He's one of our best," the manager said. "Union rep, mentors new hires, always first to volunteer for overtime when someone needs help covering bills." After the tour, Kendra waited outside. Isaiah emerged during his break, unsurprised to see her. "Can we talk?" Kendra asked. "About what? How you're going to fix everything with your family's money?" "No. I want to understand your life. Actually understand. Not perform understanding for social media." Isaiah studied her, then sighed. "Fine, but I'm hungry, and I'm not going wherever you people eat." They ended up at a bodega, Isaiah ordering a sandwich that cost $4. Kendra realized she'd never eaten anything that cheap in her life. "I grew up 3 blocks from here," Isaiah said, unwrapping his sandwich. "My mom worked 2 jobs to keep us housed. I watched gentrification swallow neighborhoods, push people like us further out. By the time I graduated high school, half my friends had moved to the Bronx or Jersey because they couldn't afford rent. Why did you stay? Because someone has to fight. Someone has to say, this community matters, these people matter. If everyone with roots leaves, what's left?" Isaiah took a bite. "I went to community college, got my manufacturing certification, started at Riverside, been there 6 years. It's good work, honest work. Union protects us, mostly, until billionaires decide our building should be luxury condos. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. Start acting." Isaiah's voice was firm, but not unkind. "You know what would actually help? If you went to your father and said, 'This is wrong. Find another site. Preserve this community.' He wouldn't listen. Have you tried?" Kendra hadn't. She'd never challenged her father on anything substantial. "He'll say I don't understand business. Then learn. Read about community land trusts, cooperative housing, development that doesn't displace. Solutions exist. Rich people just ignore them because they're less profitable." They talked for over an hour. Isaiah told her about union organizing, rent strikes, community coalitions fighting corporate greed. He spoke about his mother, who died 2 years ago from treatable illness because she couldn't afford good health care. About his younger sister, who'd gotten a college scholarship but still worked part-time at Target to afford books. "You're incredible," Kendra said quietly. "I'm not incredible. I'm normal. This is what regular people do. We work hard, we help each other, we survive." Isaiah leaned back. "You think I'm special because I'm not falling at your feet grateful for attention. But Kendra, this is baseline. People in my community do extraordinary things every day just to stay alive in a system designed against us." Something shifted in Kendra's chest. "Teach me," she said again. But this time she meant it differently. "Not to ease my guilt. Teach me so I can actually be useful." Isaiah was quiet for a long moment. "If I do this, you don't get to quit when it gets uncomfortable. You don't get to return to your penthouse and pretend this conversation never happened." "I won't. We'll see." Isaiah stood. "Come to the factory tomorrow after work. Union meeting at 6 p.m. If you actually want to help, start by listening to workers who'll lose their jobs. Hear their stories. Remember their names. I'll be there." "Kendra," Isaiah paused. "If you're doing this to rebel against your family or feel like a good person, figure that out now. Because we don't have time for rich girl self-discovery. This is people's lives." "I know." "Then prove it." After he left, Kendra sat in the bodega, surrounded by neighborhood residents buying groceries, chatting in Spanish and English, living interconnected lives her privilege had kept her from seeing. For the first time, she felt like she understood what Blake meant when he dismissed Brooklyn. These weren't those people, they were just people, and she'd been taught not to see them as fully human, as deserving of stability and dignity. The realization made her feel sick, but also determined. She couldn't undo her family's harm, but she could stop contributing to it, and maybe, just maybe, she could start building something better. Kendra attended the union meeting Tuesday evening. 40 workers packed the room, discussing strategy for fighting the factory closure. When she walked in, conversation stopped. All eyes turned to her. "Everyone, this is Kendra Ashford," Isaiah said. "Douglas Ashford's daughter. She's here to listen." The room remained skeptical. One older worker spoke up. "Listen to what? How we feel about losing our jobs so her daddy can make more millions?" "I know this is strange," Kendra said, "and I know my being here doesn't change anything, but I want to understand what my family's business does to communities. I want to do better." "You want to do better? Tell your father to cancel the development. I've tried talking to him. He won't listen." "Then what good are you?" The worker wasn't being cruel, just honest. Isaiah intervened. "She has access to information we don't. Media connections, resources. Maybe there's something useful there." The meeting proceeded. Kendra listened to workers discuss legal options, media strategies, political pressure. These weren't uneducated people waiting for rescue. They were organized, strategic, fighting with every tool available. After the meeting, Isaiah walked her out. That was brave, showing up. They hate me. They don't hate you. They hate what you represent. Another rich person slumming in their neighborhood, treating their struggle like entertainment. Isaiah's voice softened. But you stayed. That counts for something. Before Kendra could respond, her phone rang. Blake. She ignored it. It rang again. You should probably answer that, Isaiah said. Blake's voice was tight with anger. Where are you? Your father called me. Apparently someone saw you in Riverside at some labor meeting. What the hell, Kendra? I was learning about the development's impact on workers. Why? This isn't your concern. You're embarrassing the family. Maybe the family should be embarrassed. Silence. Then, you're not thinking clearly. This is about that factory worker, isn't it? The one who protested? Someone said you've been talking to him. His name is Isaiah. I don't care what his name is. Kendra, these people, they're trying to manipulate you. They see a rich girl and think they can get money or publicity. You're being used. Or maybe I'm finally seeing clearly for the first time in my life. This is insane. I'm coming to get you. Don't. Kendra hung up, hands shaking. Isaiah looked concerned. Your boyfriend? Soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, probably. Kendra tried to smile. He thinks you're manipulating me. Am I? No. You're just the first person who's ever been honest with me. She met his eyes. Everyone in my life tells me what I want to hear. You tell me what I need to hear. That's not manipulation. That's respect. Isaiah's expression shifted. Surprise, then something softer. You're different than I expected. Different how? Most people from your world would have left after that first confrontation. You keep showing up, because this matters. You matter. The words hung between them, more significant than Kendra intended. Her phone buzzed. Victoria. Your father wants you at the office tomorrow morning. Do not be late. I have to go, Kendra said reluctantly. My father wants a meeting, probably to lecture me about family loyalty. Good luck with that. Isaiah, thank you for being patient with me, for not giving up on me. I haven't decided if I'm giving up on you yet. Still evaluating. But his smile suggested he'd already decided. Driving home, Kendra knew her comfortable life was ending. Her family would pressure her to stop attending meetings. Blake would demand she choose between him and this phase. Her friends would whisper about her losing her way. But for the first time, Kendra felt like she was finding it. Wednesday morning's meeting with her father was exactly as hostile as expected. Douglas sat behind his massive desk, Victoria standing nearby like reinforcement. Explain yourself, Douglas said without preamble. You were seen at a union meeting in Riverside, fraternizing with workers opposing our development. I was learning about the community's perspective. Their perspective is irrelevant. We purchased that property legally. We're following all regulations. What they want doesn't matter. They're people, Dad. Families losing their homes. They're tenants. They don't own those properties. This is business, Kendra, not a charity case for you to champion. Victoria touched her husband's arm. Darling, perhaps if we explain the economics. She doesn't need economics explained. She needs to remember who she is. Douglas turned to Kendra. Blake called me. Said you've been spending time with some factory worker. Is this what this is about? Some romantic rebellion? This is about me finally seeing what our family's wealth costs. Costs? Douglas laughed harshly. We provide jobs. We create economic growth. Those neighborhoods are underutilized. We maximize their potential. By pushing out everyone who lives there. By destroying communities that have existed for generations. Communities that fail to adapt, deserve to be replaced. This is capitalism, Kendra. The efficient use of resources. You've been brainwashed by union propaganda. I've been educated by people living the reality you ignore. Douglas stood, his face reddening. Let me be very clear. You will stop attending these meetings. You will end whatever inappropriate relationship you've developed with this worker, and you will apologize to Blake and the Henderson family for your behavior. Or what? Or you'll find yourself cut off. No trust fund, no allowance, no access to family resources. His voice was ice. You're an Ashford. You will behave like one or you will be nothing. Kendra stood too, surprising herself with her steadiness. Then I'll be nothing. Because being an Ashford apparently means being complicit in exploitation. She left before they could respond, her heart pounding. In the elevator, reality crashed in. Her father had just threatened to cut her off completely. Without her trust fund, she had no money, no apartment, No safety net. She called Isaiah from her car. "Can we talk?" They met at a coffee shop in Riverside. Kendra told him about the meeting, her father's ultimatum, the reality of what choosing justice over comfort actually meant. "You understand what you're risking?" Isaiah asked seriously. "Not just money. Your entire life as you know it." "I know. And you're willing to risk it for what? To feel good about yourself? To stop being part of the problem?" Kendra's voice shook. "Isaiah, I've spent 24 years benefiting from suffering I refused to see. I can't do it anymore. I can't go to another gala and smile while my father displaces families. I can't marry Blake and raise children in that bubble, teaching them wealth equals worth. What will you do?" "I don't know. I've never worked a real job. Never paid my own bills. I'm completely unprepared for life without wealth." She laughed bitterly. "I'm probably going to fail spectacularly." "Probably," Isaiah agreed, but his expression was kind. "But failing at something difficult beats succeeding at something wrong. Will you help me? I'm not asking you to fix my life, but will you help me figure out how to actually be useful?" Isaiah was quiet for a long moment. "You know this isn't temporary, right? You don't get to try poverty for a few months and return to your penthouse when it gets hard. I know. You'll lose friends, lose your community. People in your world won't forgive you for choosing us over them. Then they weren't really my friends." Isaiah studied her face like he was trying to see inside her. "Okay, but Kendra, I need you to be honest with yourself about one thing." "What? Are you doing this because you genuinely want justice? Or because you're attracted to the idea of me?" His voice was gentle but firm. "Because if this is about romance or rebellion, figure that out now. I'm not a project for you to save yourself through." Kendra felt tears threaten. "I don't know. Maybe it started that way. Meeting you, feeling challenged. But it's bigger now. I can't unknow what I've learned. Can't unsee the harm my family causes. Whether you and I ever become anything, I still can't go back to that life. Good, because I'm not interested in being your noble, savage teacher or your rebellion against Daddy. If we're going to work together, it's as equals fighting for the same cause. Equals. When I have all the privilege and resources? Privilege is a tool. Question is whether you use it to maintain systems or dismantle them." Isaiah finished his coffee. "You've got access to your father's files, board meetings, development plans, information that could expose how these deals really work. That's useful, but it means betraying your family. I know. Think about it more. You don't have to decide today." Isaiah stood to leave, then hesitated. "Kendra, for what it's worth, I believe you're sincere. Just make sure you're ready for how hard this gets." After he left, Kendra sat alone, processing everything. Her phone buzzed with texts. Blake demanding to talk, Madison asking if she was okay, Victoria saying the family dinner Friday was mandatory. She had 48 hours before her father's ultimatum became real. 48 hours to decide between comfort and conviction. Friday's family dinner was a war disguised as a meal. Douglas, Victoria, and Austin sat on one side of the table. Kendra sat across from them, feeling like she was on trial. "We've discussed your situation," Douglas began, cutting his steak with surgical precision. "And we're prepared to make allowances if you agree to certain conditions." "Allowances?" "You may continue your interest in community work, within reason. We'll increase the Foundation's outreach to working-class neighborhoods. You can be involved in that." Victoria's tone suggested this was generous. "But you must end contact with the factory worker and resume your relationship with Blake. His name is Isaiah. I don't care what his name is." Douglas set down his knife. "Kendra, you're not thinking rationally. This man sees an opportunity, a wealthy, naive girl he can manipulate for money or publicity. Or maybe he sees someone finally willing to acknowledge reality." Austin spoke for the first time. "Ken, come on. You're throwing away millions over some guy? That's insane. It's not about Isaiah. It's about not wanting to be complicit in destroying communities." "Complicit?" Douglas's laugh was harsh. "We're developers. We create value. If these people can't afford to live in improved neighborhoods, that's not our fault. It's economics. It's exploitation dressed up as economics." Kendra's voice rose. "You buy buildings from desperate sellers, evict long-term residents, then sell to wealthy buyers. You're not creating value. You're transferring it from poor people to rich people. That's a child's understanding of capitalism. Then explain it like I'm an adult. Tell me how displacing 200 factory workers and their families is ethical." Douglas slammed his hand on the table. I don't have to justify my business to you. You've lived your entire life on the wealth I created. Every privilege, every opportunity, every comfort, paid for by my work. And now you're judging me? Yes, I am. Kendra stood. Because it's not your work. It's exploitation of people who have no choice, and I won't participate anymore. Then you'll have nothing. Douglas's voice went cold. No trust fund, no apartment, no credit cards. You'll be cut off completely. Let's see how your principles hold up when you're actually poor. You think poverty is a punishment I'll learn from. Like this is a game. Kendra felt surprisingly calm. I'm not playing poverty, Dad. I'm choosing to stop benefiting from other people's suffering. You're being dramatic. In 6 months, you'll come crawling back when reality hits. Maybe. But at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. Victoria tried intervening. Kendra, please. Think about your future. You're throwing away security, marriage prospects, everything we've built. Everything you've stolen, you mean. The words hung in the air. Austin looked shocked. Victoria paled. Douglas's expression went from angry to something harder. Get out, he said quietly. Pack whatever you can carry tonight. The apartment lease is in my name. You have until Sunday to vacate. Kendra left without looking back. In her car, she sat shaking, trying to process what she'd just done. She'd destroyed her relationship with her family, ended her engagement, cut herself off from everything familiar. She called Isaiah. I did it. I told my father I couldn't participate anymore. He's cutting me off completely. Silence. Then, you okay? No, I'm terrified. I have no idea what I'm doing. Where are you staying? I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead. Come to Riverside tomorrow. We'll figure it out. Isaiah's voice was steady. You're not alone in this, Kendra. The community takes care of its own, and you just became part of the community. After hanging up, Kendra drove to her penthouse, soon to be someone else's penthouse. She looked around at the designer furniture, the art collection, the luxury she'd never questioned. None of it felt like home. It never had. It was just expensive stuff filling expensive space. Home was going to be something she'd have to build from scratch. With people, not possessions. With integrity, not inheritance. The thought was terrifying, and somehow also freeing. Saturday morning, Kendra packed a single suitcase. Everything else, designer clothes, jewelry, art, she left behind. It was her father's money that bought it. She wanted none of it. She arrived in Riverside with one bag, $700 in cash, and no plan. Isaiah met her at a diner, bringing a woman with him. This is Mrs. Patterson. She rents rooms in her building, has one available if you need it. Mrs. Patterson studied Kendra skeptically. It's not fancy. $700 a month, utilities included. Shared bathroom down the hall. $700. Nearly all the cash Kendra had. I'll take it. You got a job? I need first month, last month deposit. I'm looking for work. I have... Kendra trailed off. What did she have? A college degree in art history. No work experience. I'll find something. Mrs. Patterson looked at Isaiah. She, your responsibility? She's trying to do right. That's her own responsibility. But I'll vouch for her. Fine. You can move in today. But I expect rent on time. No excuses. The room was tiny. A single bed, a dresser, one window overlooking the street. The bathroom was down the hall, shared with 5 other residents. It was the opposite of everything Kendra had known. This is perfect, she said, and meant it. Isaiah helped her unpack her single suitcase. You know you've got maybe 3 weeks before you're broke, right? I'll find work. Doing what? You've never worked. Then I'll learn. Kendra sat on the bed. Isaiah, I know I'm completely unprepared for this, but I'd rather struggle with purpose than live comfortably with guilt. Noble, but nobility doesn't pay rent. Isaiah softened. Look, the bodega down the street is hiring. It's minimum wage, but it's something. I can talk to the owner. Thank you. And Kendra? Isaiah met her eyes. This is going to be hard. Really hard. You're going to want to quit. Call your father. Go back to your old life. When that happens, and it will, remember why you left. That evening, Kendra walked to the bodega. The owner, Mr. Rodriguez, looked her over skeptically. You ever worked retail? No, but I learned fast, and I'll work hard. Why do you want this job? You don't look like you need it. I need it more than you know. Not for money, though I do need that. I need to understand what regular life costs, what working actually means. Mr. Rodriguez studied her. Isaiah vouched for you. That means something. But I'm not running a charity. You show up late, you're gone. You mess up the register, you're gone. Understood? Understood. You start Monday, 6 a.m. Don't be late. Walking home, Kendra felt something like pride. She'd gotten her first job. It paid $11 an hour, which meant she'd need to work 60 hours a week just to make rent and food. The math was sobering. Her phone buzzed. Blake, your father called mine. What the hell have you done? Call me immediately. She deleted the text. Another buzz. Madison, I heard you moved out? To Riverside? Kendra, this is crazy. Come stay with me. We'll figure this out. Madison meant well, but figuring this out would mean returning to her old world. Accepting that her brief rebellion was over, Kendra turned off her phone. She wasn't rebelling. She was choosing, and for the first time in her life, she was choosing based on values instead of comfort. Isaiah appeared beside her. You okay? Scared, but okay. Good. Being scared means you understand the stakes. He handed her a sandwich. Mrs. Patterson said you didn't eat today. You can't afford to skip meals. I can't afford the sandwich either. Consider it an investment in community solidarity. His smile was gentle. We take care of each other here. That's how we survive. Later, in her tiny room, Kendra lay on the single bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere across town, Blake was sleeping in his luxury apartment. Madison was probably at some party. Her family was having wine that cost more than her weekly rent. And Kendra was here, in a room that smelled like old building and shared bathrooms, completely broke, starting a minimum wage job Monday. She'd never been happier. CTA, hello, the Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment. And it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world, so don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. Working at the bodega was humbling in ways Kendra never anticipated. Her feet hurt from standing. Her back ached from lifting boxes. Customers were demanding, sometimes rude, often impatient. And the pay, $11 an hour, barely covered basics. But she was learning how to work a register, how to stock shelves efficiently, how to handle difficult customers with grace. Skills she'd never needed before, but were essential for survival. 2 weeks in, a journalist from the New York Times approached her during her shift. Kendra Ashford, I heard you've left your family and moved to Riverside. Is it true your father cut you off? Word had spread. Of course it had. Billionaire's daughter choosing poverty was news. I chose to stop participating in exploitation, Kendra said carefully. Would you be willing to do an interview? Tell your story? Isaiah, who'd stopped by the bodega, looked concerned, but he didn't speak for her. On one condition, Kendra said. You also interview the Riverside manufacturing workers losing their jobs. Make this about them, not me. The article ran 3 days later. Billionaire's daughter exposes family's business practices, chooses solidarity over wealth. It included interviews with Isaiah and other workers, detailed information about Ashford Global's displacement patterns, and Kendra's own words about privilege and exploitation. The response was explosive. Media outlets picked up the story. Social media erupted, some calling her courageous, others calling her naive, many accusing her of performative activism. Her father released a statement. We're saddened by our daughter's choices and hope she finds her way back to reality. Blake went on record. Kendra was manipulated by individuals who saw an opportunity. I hope she gets the help she needs. But something else happened too. Other wealthy young people started reaching out, questioning their own family's businesses. Community organizations invited her to speak. Riverside residents who'd been skeptical began accepting her as genuine. You've made yourself a target, Isaiah said one evening as they walked through the neighborhood. Your family's lawyers could come after you for defamation. Let them. Everything I said is documented fact. You're not scared? Terrified. But I'm more scared of going back to being who I was. Someone who knew about suffering and chose comfort over action. Isaiah stopped walking. Can I tell you something? Always. When you first showed up, I thought you'd last a week, maybe 2. Rich girl playing at poverty, looking for purpose. He met her eyes. I was wrong. You're the real thing. I'm just doing what's right. No, you're doing what's hard. There's a difference. Isaiah hesitated, then continued. And I'm falling for you, which complicates things. Kendra's breath caught. How does it complicate things? Because I don't want you staying in Riverside for me. I need to know you're here for the right reasons. For justice, for community, for believing this matters. Not because you're trying to be with me. What if it's both? What if I'm here because this community matters and because you matter? Then we figure it out together. But Kendra, I won't be the reason you martyr yourself. If you're going to give up wealth and privilege, it has to be your choice, for your reasons. It is my choice. And my reason is that I finally understand what my mother meant when she said use privilege for good, except she meant use it to maintain systems. I'm using it to expose them. That's the right answer. Isaiah smiled, though your mother's probably furious. Absolutely. She sent me 17 texts yesterday. I haven't read any of them. They walked back to Mrs. Patterson's building. Kendra's room was on the 3rd floor. Isaiah's was on the 2nd. They stood in the hallway, the space between them charged with unspoken words. Good night, Kendra. Good night, Isaiah. Neither moved. Then Isaiah stepped closer, cupped her face gently, and kissed her. It was nothing like kissing Blake. That had been performative, expected. This was real, honest, terrifying. When they pulled apart, Isaiah said, Tomorrow's the community organizing meeting. You coming? Wouldn't miss it? Good, because we need your help planning the protest at your father's next development site. My father's going to lose his mind, probably, but he lost his daughter first. Isaiah squeezed her hand. See you tomorrow. Alone in her tiny room, Kendra lay on her single bed, touching her lips, smiling. She'd given up everything. Wealth, family, comfort, security. She was working minimum wage, barely making rent, living in a room the size of her old closet. And she'd never felt richer. 3 months later, Kendra stood with 200 protesters outside Ashford Global's newest development site in Queens. She held a sign, Communities over Condos. Isaiah stood beside her, bullhorn in hand. We demand affordable housing, he called. We demand community input. We demand E over profit. The crowd echoed his words. Media cameras captured everything. And somewhere in the Ashford Global offices, Kendra knew her father, was watching, furious. She'd changed. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced with thrift store finds and practical layers. Her hair was in a simple ponytail instead of styled perfection. Her hands had calluses from stocking shelves and carrying boxes. She'd lost weight, not from dieting, but from working 60-hour weeks and eating cheap food. But her eyes were clearer. Her smile was genuine. And when she spoke at community meetings, her words carried the weight of lived experience, not inherited privilege. After the protest, she and Isaiah grabbed coffee at their usual spot. Your father's lawyers sent another cease and desist, Isaiah said. You going to respond? My pro bono lawyer will handle it. They can't stop me from telling the truth. Kendra sipped her coffee. Regular coffee now, not $7 lattes. How's the factory? Ashford Global delayed demolition 6 months. The union negotiated severance packages and job placement assistance. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Because of the protests? Because of you. The media attention forced them to negotiate. Isaiah took her hand. You saved jobs, Kendra. Real jobs for real people. We saved jobs. I just provided platform. You did the actual work. Let's call it a team effort. Isaiah's expression turned serious. Austin reached out to me. Kendra's heart lurched. My brother? What did he want? To talk. He's questioning things too, seeing how the business actually works. Isaiah squeezed her hand. I think you started something in your family. Maybe not with your parents, but with Austin. The thought made Kendra's throat tight. She hadn't spoken to her family in 3 months, hadn't seen them, hadn't answered their increasingly angry emails and texts. Do you ever regret it? Isaiah asked quietly. Giving up everything? Kendra thought about her old life, the penthouse, the trust fund, the effortless luxury. Then she thought about her current life, the tiny room, the bodega job, the constant financial stress. No, I regret not doing it sooner. She met his eyes. I thought wealth made me happy, but I was just comfortable. There's a difference. What's the difference? Comfort is numbing. Happiness is feeling. Even when it's hard, even when it hurts. I feel everything now. The exhaustion of working long hours, the satisfaction of earning my own money, the connection with neighbors who actually know my name. She paused. The love of someone who sees me for who I am, not what I have. Isaiah pulled her closer. I love you too, even though you're terrible at stocking shelves and you always mess up the register. I'm learning. You are. That's what matters. They walked back to Riverside, holding hands, passing the bodega where Kendra would work tomorrow. The community center where they'd organize next week's meeting, Mrs. Patterson's building where they both lived now, Isaiah having moved to the 3rd floor to be closer to her. Kendra's phone buzzed. Austin. Can we talk? Not as Ashfords, just as siblings. She showed Isaiah the text. Should I respond? That's your choice. But remember, you can't save your family. You can only show them a different path. Whether they take it is up to them. Kendra typed back. Coffee tomorrow. Just us. I'll buy, though it'll be cheap coffee. Austin's response was immediate. Cheap coffee sounds perfect. That night, in her tiny room, Kendra looked at the single photo she'd kept from her old life. Her and Austin as children, before wealth had defined them, when they'd just been siblings who loved each other. Maybe she couldn't change her parents. Maybe Douglas and Victoria would never understand that wealth built on exploitation was worthless. But Austin was reaching out, and that was something. She thought about the community she'd joined, Mrs. Patterson checking that she ate dinner, Mr. Rodriguez teaching her Spanish while they stocked shelves, the union members who'd accepted her despite her background. She thought about Isaiah, who challenged her and supported her and loved her without needing her to be anything except genuine. She'd traded a trust fund for authenticity, inheritance for integrity, comfort for conviction, and she'd gained a life worth living. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Finally, gloriously, uncomfortably real. Her old friends would say she'd thrown everything away. But Kendra knew better. She hadn't thrown anything away. She'd found everything that mattered.